Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Ayashimon Chapter 9. Sorry this review's out a little bit later than originally planned. I like to have my reviews out kind of sometime in the afternoon. Most of my classes for this semester finally started today, so I spent a lot of the day doing some schoolwork. I had some errands to run, but I'm finally here now. Yeah, now before we get into this week's review, I of course have to mention that if you haven't already, definitely be sure to hit that subscribe button, help us reach our goal of hitting 5,000 subscribers and getting to do that 24-hour live stream. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on with the review. There are two major events in this week's chapter, the first of which is involving Maruo. As we know in the last chapter, he got up to keep fighting against Dopo, who has been pretty thoroughly trouncing him. Maruo is not equipped for fighting Logias, and I mean, that's basically what Dopo is. He's basically like fucking Aokiji. Yeah, like if you want to say that Aokiji's power is chill instead of ice, then that is pretty much Dopo's power. He steals the heat from things. His power goes so far that what did he do? He stole the heat from the clouds, like from the atmosphere, in order to create like this tornado blizzard. That was pretty fucking cool and impressive. Goes to show that these guys can have quite a bit of versatility with what they do with their powers. And Maruo refuses to give up. Why? Because he's a shonen protagonist. No, not really. Because he wants to be a shonen protagonist, and because shonen protagonists never give up, and they never lose, apparently. Shonen protagonists never lose no matter what, no matter how strong their opponent is. At the end of the day, they always win. And that's why he'll never stop fighting. And we get this page, it's still, like, he's having a flashback of, like, his abusive childhood, and we see him getting up and then finally punching Dopo in the face. And I'm like, oh shit, he got in a punch on him. And then you go to the next page and you find out that's just him hallucinating because he's been, like, beaten unconscious. Whoops. So, Maruo has finally experienced his first defeat, which means my greatest concern with this series has been addressed. My big worry from Chapter 1 was that Maruo was going to be one of those protagonists that just kind of low to mid-diffs every single person that he fights and never really loses, never really faces that much of a challenge. And as I've brought up in regards to other series such as solo leveling, that gets pretty boring. It's important that the protagonist can lose, that there are people stronger than the protagonist, because that's what helps to create stakes. You become invested in the character's growth because you want to see them become stronger so that they can overcome this opponent. And now, I'm not worried about that anymore because Maruo's lost. Not even into the double digits yet. Within the first 10 chapters, his first solid, certified defeat at the hands of someone who's either the main villain or is, going to be the antagonist for a point in the story. Considering Aurora's thing is mostly against the Enma Syndicate and Dopo, I'm assuming Dopo is going to be more of the main antagonist, at least for quite some time. So, yeah, Maruo needs to go on a training arc. He needs to learn how to use Haki so he can attack Logia types. Because, no Haki, you're not fighting top tiers. You're not getting into the top tiers. You're not even going to be fighting top tiers if you don't know Haki. I don't think Haki was a concept yet at the time the story takes place, and actually, no, it's too early. I don't even know if One Piece had started yet at the time that Ayashimon takes place during. It would have to be like the early 2000s for Haki to be a thing. In which case, oh god, if it started in the early 2000s, he could be like, I need to learn how to use Haki so I can punch that guy. That'd be pretty funny. But no, I'm guessing Maruo's next big goal, he's going to have his big training arc, which, good. Wait like 10 chapters until you go into some kind of exam or training arc thing. That's usually probably a good idea for pacing. His goal is probably going to be figuring out how to hit someone like Dopo. I know Aurora mentioned, like, a chapter ago. What is it? Dopo uses something called Yojutsu, which I assume means like yokai magic, demon magic. How to be able to overcome that. Maybe Maruo will learn some kind of magical techniques of his own. That would be neat. But we are going to have to see how our fledgling shonen protagonist is going to be growing from here. Now, before I get into the second half of this week's review, I of course have to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons. Special thanks to Neo, Tyrese Simmons, Dijon Redden, Anthony Chavez, Honey Mustard, K-God, Chris Redfield, Rat, Ryzen 4K, Artist, Mac Campaign, Wave of Manga, Chuck's Feed and Seed, Jake's Easy, and Play Free Labs. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at some point during videos, or access to reviews for One Piece and the Boxer, you can always become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Now then, let's get back to our regularly scheduled review. The second big thing that happens in this chapter is the thing that they set up last chapter, and I was wondering how long are we going to wait for that. And that is the reveal of Aurora's true power, her true form. She, has her, I forget exactly what it's called, but the dagger, the sheathed dagger that contains her power. It's knocked out of her hand. Dopo's trying to take it. Ten ends up taking it and proves himself useful, and defies Dopo's orders, showing that he's finally growing a bit of a spine and is becoming willing to stand up for himself. Nice to see some development like that over such a short period of time. I definitely think Ten is going to be the guy that completes our main trio, which is nice. I like a meek little guy, just a little fella. They're always fun. And he unsheathes the dagger, allowing Aurora to go into her true form. Now, they called her an Oni instead of a yokai. I am not that knowledgeable about Japanese monsters. So in my mind, I always associate Oni with, the red and blue Oni. The big, horned, tusked ogre guys that use, I'm never gonna remember. The spiked clubs. Neo, I don't care, I'm never gonna remember what Kaido's weapon is called. They use those, or they use a big katana. That's what I was expecting, and I'm like, oh shit. Main girl turns into a big, masked demon ogre thing? Sounds pretty cool. No. What we got instead was also pretty cool. She turns into this big, I want to say dog creature. I can't tell if it's a dog or a fox, maybe a cat. Some sort of quadrupedal mammalian creature with 6 eyes. Got big eyelashes. I don't think any apparent mouth, but they clearly have one because they're picking up Maruo. And it seems like their tail splits into 2. If any of you guys are big Japanese mythology nerds, feel free to let me know in the comments if this matches the description of any kind of yokai that you're vaguely familiar with. But it seems that Aurora's plan is not to try and fight Dopo. She would probably be able to take him on, because even Dopo seems kind of concerned about Aurora when she goes into her true form. Her primary concern, take Maruo, take Ten, take Hashihime, get out of town. Get the fuck out of here. So maybe she's gonna fight Dopo a bit next chapter. Maybe Dopo will try to stop her. Maybe we'll get a little tiny clash between those two. But I don't think we're going to get a fully fledged fight. It's mostly going to be taking the homies and dipping out. I guess this also means that Hashihime is going to be joining the party. Hashihime is seemingly an established member of the Syndicate. She's been around for a while. She's basically Urara's mentor, so I'm guessing that Hashihime is going to be taking up the mentor role for the main characters here, which is pretty cool, because Hashihime is hot, has a pretty good design both in her human form and in her yokai form. I still think her yokai form is probably the best design we've had in this series thus far. It's just so fucking cool, so getting to see more of that's going to be great. And she will, perhaps, being the seasoned veteran, the knowledgeable one, she will hopefully maybe be the one that's going to be teaching Maruo a thing or two about taking on yokai. Alternatively, and I don't know how this would happen, I suppose maybe he could learn from someone who's in the Onmyo Bureau or someone who was in the Onmyo Bureau, because their whole thing is like policing yokai. And as far as we can tell, I think they're human. Pretty sure Onmyo sorcerers are like humans that do magic and shit. So having one of them teach Maruo how to take on very powerful yokai like Dopo seems like a fairly plausible path for things to go from here. But overall, a very good chapter this week. Very good chapter. One of the best that we've gotten, I think. Chapter 2, I still really like, and this chapter. So 2 and 9, thus far, have probably been the best chapters we've gotten within the first 10. Hopefully 10 will be kind of a banger as well. I consider hitting double digits to be something of a milestone. Though, considering its jump, I guess hitting 20 chapters should be more of a milestone. Congratulations, you're not joining the 19 chapters club, or, the under 19 chapters club, with all those other unfortunate lost series. So, yeah, with that, that's all I've got to say for this week's review. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Ayashimon chapter not reactions. I don't do reactions for Ayashimon. I do reviews for Ayashimon every week that we get a chapter that I think is pretty interesting. And sometimes, depending on my schedule, how busy I am, I'll do I won't do a review one week, but I'll do a multi-chapter review the next week, depending on what's in the chapters. But if you're interested in those, definitely be sure to subscribe. And if you are interested in discussing Ayashimon with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce in this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.